Good morning, guys. This is intended to be a guide, not a walkthrough for today's plan. So I just realized that I constantly have a narrative that goes from one thing to the next, but I haven't put this down in any one format. I'm going to try to do that now. Um, this is spurred on by a question about when I'm going to cut crypto, and I want to talk about allocations, how I do it, and how you're going to be extremely disappointed if you're following me but don't understand this. So first off, for instance, I added Jasmine last night at 0.0085, or I'm sorry, that's not right. 0.00485. Thank you. So we're right about my entry, right about here. I did that. I had a plan to do that. That was in the channel. That was the executed on a plan to do that. Okay. Why did I add Jasmine right here? Because I think that Jasmine is setting a 1-2 off of its swing low. And if this is the move that's coming, I want to participate in this. Despite this tremendous upside, when I allocated it, I allocated a little less than a little less than a percent, a little more than a 0.5% of my portfolio to this play. I am not all in on anything. This is no different. Okay? So I know that because of these giant swings that I don't want to ride a roller coaster like this. And I know if I'm right about this play, this 1 to 2%, now little over 2% of these altcoins that I hold are going to make up a bigger percentage of my portfolio when I'm going to sell those off. But that's a different perspective than saying, I think this has tremendous upside, I'm going to go all in, because timing is a thing. If you were just holding, like I have been, for this entirety of the initial play, because you don't know when the spike is initially going to come from, you don't know. If you were just holding through all of that, you would have missed everything else that we've done this year. And then the question becomes, when do you cut crypto, or how do you allocate? For one, I want to talk about Bitcoin and why I added. I'm going to talk about the whole trade and why I did what I did. So, the initial long, I know this is kind of a recap, but it's important. The initial long for Bitcoin was right here. The trim was right here. The re-long at 70, I think right about here. This stopped out at 73 right here, or 73.4 right here. I re-added 73.3 because I thought this could be the low right here, and then I just re-added 64 last night, and I'm in drawdown. So what happens is, why did I do it like this, and how should you allocate? Now, when I added right here, I said something specific. I am going to add one bullet right here. I'm going to add the second one above 78 or at 64. We came down to 64, so I added the second one. Why? Because I know that this is the back test. And I also know if this support would have held, which I didn't know at the moment, if this would have held, that I could have added above 78 and taken my initial targets. And if this support breaks, I know that this will be back tested and I can get out of my trade at break even, and likely better, because what I can do is I can sell my ad from down 64. I can trim into the reclaim level. I can set a stop loss below whatever wick forms when the higher low set below the reclaim, and then I can ride the next trade in profit. So because I know where the back test is, it enables me to do this. Now, how can you mess this up even though it was laid in front of you? Let's say you decided, I'm going to go all in with leverage here. You completely take this entirety of that nuance setup off the table for you. You can't do any of it anymore, right? You just have to hold through the drawdown and hold through the push back up. Now, what happens if I become a bag holder in Bitcoin? And it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. Let's say out of nowhere, people in my chat are like, what if these 4-year cycle people are right? Whatever that means. I think what it means is they think it's going below 49. So I'm going to go with that definition. There's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing. I get in at the best risk to reward possible. So what that means is right here, if I fall out and I become a bag holder for crypto and they sweep this low, I know regardless it's going to back test that breakdown level and I will exit my trade. And I am only able to do that because of where I added. So the idea of adding here and only higher on the chart or lower on the chart is the idea that I know the chart's going to come back to here eventually. And I can manipulate like my risk to reward around that. And then the question becomes, okay, then how do you cut individual plays? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Riot's play this year. There was a Riot ad. It was around $11. There was a sell at 16. There was a rebuy at 16. There was a sell at 24. There was a rebuy on Nvidia's earnings around 24. It's currently 26 something. And then the goal, I've already taken one bullet out of this, but the goal is to add to Mara as this goes higher because I think Riot is more due for a correction than Mara is. But then the idea, guys, is when do you sell? Well, you're always buying and selling. You're moving stuff around. So I just want to lay this out there. If you're somebody who's following me because you have an absolute favorite ticker and you just want to know how that ticker is going to be played, you are going to be so incredibly disappointed with this because I will take money out of something even if it's bullish if I think something else has a better opportunity and vice versa. And I do it all the time. You also need to know, what I really need to do is segment the population between short-term people and long-term people because I've been in this Riot trade for years now, buying and selling. There's no low time frame situation for me in this trade. It's only how I want to move out on time. And this is constantly what I do. I move money around. So, for instance, where did the AMD trade start? All the way back here. And then I sold out here. Even though I knew there was more upside coming, I sold out here because I didn't know how long this would go, right? And this consolidation, it went 6 months sideways, just like I was talking about altcoins earlier. We ended up getting back here when it looked like it was bottoming out. We got in around 180s, took it back up, sold again. Sold right here at 423. Got back in on the Nvidia earnings, and I anticipate selling it as it goes higher, but DCAing out of it. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be buys and sells, even if I think things are bullish, but if you are only all in on one thing, you're removing your ability to move money around, and that's just not good. Okay. Same thing with Oxy. I'm just playing this up and down. Meta. Here's a perfect example, guys. Long Meta. Close. Not close. Trim. Take that exact same trim and feed itself back into the same trade, right? Even though you expect higher, you have to have that flexibility to move it around. Another example. New. Getting out of new. We want to be out of new sooner than later. Doesn't mean it can't keep going. I don't know. But I anticipate sooner or later it's going to shoot down for this back test. And I know that right now, Netflix is closing its back test. So I'm going to take the powder right out of new, and I'm going to go Netflix, and I'm going to play a similar sort of run. So you got to give yourself the powder and the ability to move stuff in between tickers and allocate smartly enough that you can round trip being wrong, like in the Bitcoin example. You can't just go all in at support on weeklies or monthlies. You will have a bad time. Palantir just added. I don't know what this flag will look like. Obviously, this is the one I had speculated. Obviously, no, it was like this. Obviously, this was wrong. It came down here. This means nothing. I'm going to sell my starter position as soon as it spikes up here. And I will still find that higher low at 150 to add again to a bigger position, right? So the idea behind speculating in a starter position, like when I say a starter position, I'm like, I'm going to get started because I want to see what this range looks like. I know that this is going to produce a bounce, whether it's from right here or right here, because I know where the back test is, right? Like, I know it's coming back here regardless. Whether it goes lower or not makes no difference. So I know my starter position is going to go into profit eventually. Then how do you do it? Like, if it goes where I expect it to go, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to catch the higher low off of this, and I'm going to load up a real one, right? But that's the difference. A starter position, what does that mean for you? It's different for everybody. You need to give yourself enough flexibility to move stuff around, not lock yourself into like too much leverage, and just understand that we're just flexing money around to make the most sense out of all these moves. I'm not going to be able to predict the exact low of any of these things. Like, does this look good? Yeah, so far. But when I started talking on this video, it sure didn't, right? So, the last message I'm going to leave you with, guys, is I don't use opinion in any of this. I'm like a little friggin' TA robot. I'm telling you what's bullish and what's bearish based on the chart and the reclaims and the higher lows and the swing lows and the structures based on Elliott waves, knowing that Elliott waves are fallible, but knowing that the rules of Elliott waves cannot be broken even if they're not predictive. That's it. Give yourself the flexibility to follow different setups and not lock yourself all in with leverage or with sizing or with allocation. That's it. Take care, guys.